add camera. Oh, hi. If you're watching this on Kickstarter, you might be wondering what this game is. Box Dungeon. Box Dungeon, and whether or not you should buy it. The answer to both of those questions is yes and yes. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can click the link in the description below and check out the Kickstarter page. Box Dungeon is a minimalist tabletop role-playing game in the veins of classics such as Dungeons & Dragons or Pathfinder. But if you've ever found those games too hard to learn, don't worry. To learn Box Dungeon, it takes 15 minutes tops. It's meant to be a quick entry to tabletop RPGs that pretty much anyone can pick up. And for experienced players, it's a set that is extremely helpful in creating spontaneous dungeon and scenarios without the need to plan. To prove to you how easy it is to learn, I'll speedrun this tutorial video. This is a general card in Box Dungeon. There are 9 stats you need to be aware of. The health point, HP, at the top indicates your maximum health, which is the amount of damage your character can take. The higher, the better. The accuracy icon on the left, shortened to hit, is the bonus accuracy applied when you attempt to attack an enemy. The higher, the better. On the right, the armor class icon AC determines your bonus armor when you are defending. The higher, the better. On the bottom left in the blue diamond, we have the weight of the card. It determines the speed of your character. The higher the weight, the slower you move. And, you guessed it, the lower the better. Bottom right within the blue diamond is your range. If you have a ranged weapon like this bow here, it shows how far you can shoot. The higher, the better. Finally, the 3 most important stats. Your melee damage dice, defense dice, and range damage die, respectively. The damage dice determines how much damage you deal when you successfully hit with a melee attack or range attack. The defense dice rolls are added to your AC when trying to avoid being hit. This is your character sheet. 6 types of cards split into 2 categories will go into it. First, we have the loot cards, which consists of equipment cards, consumable cards, ability cards, and weapon cards. The equipment cards goes into your character's equipment slots in the top left and right. They are cards with permanent passive effects but mostly will add to your weight. Ability cards are equipped to your ability slots. They can be used once per encounter and refreshed after each encounter. Lastly, the weapon cards are the basis of your characters. They are placed in the center of your character sheet. If you want a ranger, equip a bow. You can wield 2 weapons at once by placing your secondary weapon underneath your main weapon like so. You can use the secondary weapon's damage and range, but it also adds weight. The other 2 cards are encounter cards, which we will get to shortly. The game can have up to 4 playable adventurers and require 1 dungeon master. As a dungeon master, your job is to create the dungeon map as the adventurers explores, and to control the events and monsters to fight these adventurers. Start out with the 2 entrance cards. Adventurers will place their meeples on any square within this card. They will then choose to open the door. 1 adventurer must be in front of a door to open. Duh. When they open the door, the DM will draw 2 map cards plus 1 for each player adventurer, which in this case will be 3 cards. They will then use these 3 cards to create a new enclosed room starting from the open door. The DM will then draw a number of encounter cards equal to the size of the room. In this case, we have a 2-card room, so we draw 2 cards. An event card can be played before, and another one after monster encounters. The description for what each event card does is written on the cards, so I'm not gonna go through them. Monster cards can be summoned on any summoning circle within the entire dungeon, and you can summon up to 6 as long as they are not the same monsters. As you can see, I have this bandit card here, so I'll just summon a bandit. The stats of the monster cards works the same way as the players. The only difference is, for every 2 new rooms open, the stat is multiplied. Right now, for the first room, the multiplier is only 1, so the stat is the base stats. On the third room, however, we will multiply the monster's stats by 2. Now the fun part, combat. The turn counter for combat is located on the DM screen. It will start counting up from 1 to 10, then return to 1 again. Characters and monsters will act on every turn multiple of their weight. If your weight is 3, like our bandit here, you will act on every 3, 6, and 9 turn. Since there are nobody on turn 1 and 2, we will just skip to turn 3 and start the bandit's turn. A turn takes place in 3 phases. First, you move. Each combatant can move up to 4 squares with diagonal squares counting as 1.5. If you step into water, your move phase will end immediately. If you end your turn in a spike tile, you will take 1d4 worth of damage. Then, the attack phase. The bandit will perform a ranged attack as it is within range. To see if you hit, you will first roll a d20. Now you add your roll with your character's hit stat, which will give you your total accuracy. Then the defending creature will roll their defense dice and add their AC stat, which will give them their total AC. Since the hit is lower than the AC, the attack fails. Next is the player's turn. Certain consumable and ability cards can be used at certain times, just check by using the quick guide. The player is going to move up to the bandit and perform a melee attack. Same thing, roll d20. Roll defense dice. This time the hit is higher than the defense, so the attack goes through. Now I roll the damage dice. If this was a ranged attack, I will roll the ranged damage dice, but since it's a melee attack, I will instead use the melee dice. With that, damage was successfully dealt to the bandit, bringing its HP down to the With that, damage was successfully dealt to the bandit, bringing its health down to 0. You know what? That's the take. We're using that. The adventurer wins. At the end of the encounter, the adventurers can take the main cards that they've cleared, in this case, the bandit cards, and let's just add on the pickpocket card as an example. These cards are turned upside down and added to the stats of the player. Note, you can only have as many additional cards as the weapon's base stats. Each player will also draw a new loot card. And that's it for the tutorial. You keep opening rooms until you hit the maximum of 2 rooms per player, then the dungeon master summons one of 3 boss monsters. The boss will have 1 multiplier more HP than the room count. So at 2 rooms, a monster has 1 time their stats, the boss will instead have 2 times, and so on and so forth. And that's it for the tutorial.